She seems to be the most well-adjusted character in the television show, I think. And so you can really see that in season 5. I mean, she's still keeping everybody together, and particularly Walter, who is even more fragile, I would say, in this season than he has been in past seasons, which is saying a lot. But everything is, I think maybe she's just so intrigued by the fact that she is living in the middle of a real Fringe event, kind of. Whereas before she's always seen the results of Fringe events and, working towards solving these, weird, bizarre things that are happening. And she met her doppelganger, which was cool, but her environment hasn't been, completely uprooted because of Fringe before. And I think that she's really into it, which is weird. Like, I'm sure there are parts that are really scary and everything, but for the most part, I think this is like the biggest opportunity that she's had to really have her hands in the middle of trying to save the world, literally save the world.
What element of the new world is the most challenging for her?
That's a great question. I'm going to say probably she doesn't have the ability to be anonymous anymore. The way she used to, she worked with the Fringe team and she could go out and do whatever she needed to and come back to the lab. And now because they're all wanted, she doesn't have the freedom to leave unannounced. Nobody does, really. And so, there are times, of course, when Walter wanders off, as he does, and it's even more difficult when he does that in this new world than it ever has been before. So I think that that's probably the most difficult thing, that they're basically living undercover. I don't know what they're eating there. There's like one scene where they were eating egg sticks.
Yeah.
And you guys saw that, and I'm assuming that it just gets worse from there. So she's probably tired of being undercover and really hungry. That's what I would. There are a few lines alluding to the fact that Astrid wasn't really with Walter when all this stuff was happening because the invasion was going on. So she was out in the field, helping, I'm assuming, the FBI and all this other stuff, trying to keep things together. And then she got back to Walter in time for her to be frozen in amber. So I think that she was just kind of like, her whole life was kind of crazy and everybody was going and doing their own thing. And that's why Walter had all this time to devise this plan on how to save the world. And nobody else really had any idea that was going on because he didn't have somebody kind of guarding him and making sure that he knew what was happening, which would have been very, very helpful if Astrid had been around when he was making all these tapes. There'd only be a couple of episodes in season 5. We thought that last year was going to be the season where Astrid gets out in the field more and she's got her gun and everything, but season 5 is definitely this season where she's out doing stuff because, it's kind of like there are 4 good people in a world of bad people, and so that's a lot of responsibility. So they need her. I say that every season. They need her more than ever. Season 5, they really need her more than ever, and she's not there just to help Walter, but she's there helping Peter and Olivia and Etta. Like, she's there helping everybody do all these really important things. And because they have to do everything in kind of stealth mode, they're like Fringe ninjas now. And so that's...
Fringes.
The Fringes. Very much.
Nice.
So that's going to be trademarked. So her role is even more pivotal than it has been before. It's, she's happy to be where she is and she's happy to help save this world, but this is a very tragic story to have, this young woman with her whole life ahead of her having, kind of like 20 years taken away from her life where she's been frozen. And what possibly could have happened in those 20 years? She might have had kids, she might have gotten married or something, and I don't know, that's, I think that's a real testament to what a cool character she is, that she doesn't, I don't think that she is so, I don't want to say self-involved because I don't think it's wrong to want to have a family and do those things, but that's not her priority. Like whatever she imagined her future would be, it doesn't really have that much weight in terms of what day she's actually living, and that's the kind of cool quality for a superhero to have.
Astrid wasn't really involved in Walter making the tapes. How is she now going to help him remember things with
That's a great question.
utilizing them?
they're trying to figure that out. Because what happens is that these tapes are pretty much all out of order, and so they're having to piece, it's kind of like this puzzle that's been scrambled and thrown apart everywhere, and so they're trying to put it all together in a way that makes sense and is cohesive. But a lot of the tapes are damaged because they've been stuck in amber. So Astrid's biggest role in terms of the tapes is she has to watch them like over and over and over again. This is a VCR, okay? So Walter, for whatever reason, when he made these tapes, didn't use like a flip video camera, which I know existed at the time. He could have stuck them on YouTube or something. Yeah. He didn't do that, and so there's a VCR, and we all know how crappy VCRs are. So there are a lot of scenes of Astrid like fumbling with the tracking, turning the tracking wheel on the VCR.
So it's like a 1970s VCR.
It's an old VCR, and he filmed it with an old tape recorder. So there's like a lot of, fuzzy stuff, and then the tape rolls, and then his voice will like slow down a lot and get stretched out. So there's just tons of her having to decipher what it was he said. But there actually is one pivotal scene where they can't figure out what it is that he's saying, and she's looking at this tape over and over and over again, and she figures out exactly what it is. And I think it's because she knows him so well. Like, they're two peas in a pod without the third pea. Yeah, so she's, and the other thing that she does that's really helpful is that she's got steadier hands than Walter has, because she doesn't have as many drugs as she does. And so she's able to kind of